Welcome back to the FoMSCast, everybody. My name is Michael. I am your VP Advocacy, Accessibility, and Equity, and I'm here with another USC presidential candidate. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matteen Pezeshki. I am a health sciences student, and I'm running to be USC president.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, like your faculty, kind of what you've been doing around Western these past couple of years?
Yeah. So a lot of what I've been doing has been involved with my faculty and then the USC. So I've been a SOF for 3 years. This year being the head SOF for health sciences. I've been involved with my faculty council. Both as a VP and then as a senior advisor this year. I helped to rewrite our entire constitution. In terms of advocacy, one of the biggest things that I've pushed for and worked to implement was full year faculty soft contracts. So I worked with Sarah Fullerton to put that into effect for this year. And yeah.
And so you had the debate on Thursday. How do you feel coming out of it?
I feel pretty good. I think it went well. It was nice to chat with the other candidates and kind of see their perspective on things. And I'm hoping that it helps students to feel more informed about how they're going to vote in the election.
Something I just thought of right now. What inspired you to run this year?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest things was seeing the impact that the USC can have on campus and the change that the USC can make. Being involved as the speaker of the USC and then as head SOF, I've seen that, when you really want to push for something and you want to advocate for something, the USC can make it happen. In addition to this, one of the biggest things that I've learned is that, getting involved on campus really helps you to build a social support network. And I want to make it so that it's easier for students to do the same. And based off my experiences of learning that the USC can do a lot for students, I think that the USC can make it easier for students to put themselves out there and get involved in campus.
No, so would you say your role as head SOF this year played a large role in that?
Absolutely. I think, being head SOF really gave me a different perspective on what the USC can do. And yeah, definitely.
So in 3 words or less, describe your platform.
Ooh. So I would say advocacy, inclusivity, and empathy.
Do you want to elaborate on any of those?
Yeah, so I think with empathy, one of the biggest things is that my platform is built off of consulting with other people and learning what other people had to say. I think coming into prepping for this role, the biggest thing I wanted to make sure was that I was listening to other students, because I'm only one perspective of this campus, but being USC president involves advocating and representing everyone on campus. And so I think when I was building my platform and learning a lot about the issues on campus, a big part of it is really understanding the experiences of other people, regardless if I can relate to them or not. And so I think that's why empathy was a really big one. I think in terms of inclusivity, a really big part is also making sure that students feel that they have a place on campus. This is one of the fundamental things that I want students to feel, is that they can put themselves out there. And so in building it and trying to build a platform that facilitates inclusivity, it was really important to me to make sure that, whether it was my policies or whether it was the programming that I was trying to put together in my platform, I wanted to make sure that there was a place for everyone. In terms of advocacy, I think a big part of my platform focuses on advocacy to Western. The USC can do a lot, but the USC and Western together can do even more. And so I think that by working with Western and advocating to Western, we can make sure that we are making a positive and long-lasting impact on our campus.
Yeah. Speaking of advocacy, one of the things you mentioned, and something that I've been very passionate about and talking to people with in my role as VP Advocacy, is the Free the Dot program. You've mentioned that if failing putting pressure on Western, because that hasn't been working so far, you want to turn to like an external organization. I think one that was mentioned specifically was Period Purse. I'm not familiar with that. Could you talk about a little bit, maybe about who they are, but also like what it would look like to get like those resources from an outside organization?
Yeah, so obviously I think that with Free the Dot, it's important to continue to advocate to Western. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of results from doing that right now. And so that's why as a contingency plan, I really wanted to push for looking to a third party, because if Western isn't going to do it, we still need to come up with a solution to figure out how we can keep the program going. In terms of the Period Purse, they are a menstrual equity charity program based in Toronto, but they have community partners across Canada. So in partnering with them, what would happen is they would be able to deliver the products to us, but then we would be responsible for, restocking the citron machines in the bathrooms. So if we were to partner with an external organization, a lot of what it would involve is hiring volunteers and potentially a coordinator to help facilitate, restocking the period products on campus.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned that you wanted to have access to mental health supports outside of business hours. Mm-hmm. So what would that look like? Like, is this like an online chat kind of thing, or are these like someone you can call or in person? And where would that come from, it being outside of like employee business hours?
Yeah, so I think so the big part about advocating to Western to expand their mental health services is making sure that there are mental health counselors on campus that you can go to in person. I think being a health sciences student, one of the biggest things I've learned is that when people are looking for mental health support, it's a lot more personable and it's a lot more patient-centered if you're going in person. This is why I really wanted to focus on this piece of advocating to Western. In terms of what this would look like, it would be working with Western to see, hey, are there mental health counselors available across London that could come and that could be there to support students? Obviously, you might see that there might be less cases, in the middle of the night. So making sure that, okay, maybe there's only like one or two that are needed. But the idea is that, mental health is something that can impact students just as frequently at 12 p.m. as it could 12 a.m. And so making sure that students have the right support so that they can feel supported in going to these services is really important. Additionally, right now, if you try to go to Western's mental health services, you see, they actually don't have the capacity to take you right now. So the idea with this is that, students are able to more easily go to Western services, because realistically, if you can't go to Western services, you still need to get that mental health support. So if Western can't take it on, then we need to make sure that students feel and are aware of where they can go.
Yeah, and speaking of getting that information out, one of the things that I've found is that, so as music students, we have one of the busiest workloads on campus, because we have a bunch of stuff that's not built into our schedules, practicing, rehearsals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the while still trying to find time to like eat and sleep a normal amount and do homework. And we often kind of seem almost forgotten about at the bottom of the hill. What is your plan, if any, to engage with us with USC programming and information?
Yeah, so one of my biggest platform points is focused on integrating music students into the USC programming. So a lot of what we see is, there's spoke or wave programming where they will play, playlists, or they will host different events that just have like music going in the background. But instead, what I want to do is I want to work with music students to streamline a process where music students have the ability to come in and perform live. I think not only does this enhance programming, because who doesn't love live music, but it also provides music students with the opportunity to gain experience with performing in front of live audiences. This is one of the biggest things that I want to work to, so that music students feel more engaged with the USC, but so that students also see that the USC is setting a standard for making sure that students feel supported with their studies. One of the biggest things as well, in addition to this, is I wanted to do a big end-of-year arts festival. So the idea with this is that whether you're, part of a club or an independent artist, where you're able to get engaged in a high-level arts-based programming. So the idea with this is that, whether you're a music student that's part of a band, or you're an independent musician, that you're able to come, you're able to perform in front of a live audience. The idea with this is that we are continuing to support music students with programming at its base. One of the ways that I want to support music students academically is Western recently passed a policy that will be going into effect soon regarding class size thresholds. And so in consulting with a lot of students from the smaller faculties such as music, arts and humanities, and FIMS, I've learned that a lot of students are concerned about which courses are going to be able to run, especially courses that a lot of students were going to be interested to enroll in. The idea is that I want to advocate to Western to reverse this policy so that students feel that they're able to take the courses that they're interested in, especially as this policy impacts music students. I want to work with music students so that they feel that their voice is heard, not just in our programming, but in our advocacy efforts as well.
So one of your main points about promoting events and also getting informational resources out there is revamping the USC Now app. What does that look like?
Yeah, so focusing on revamping the USC Now app is making it easier for students to navigate and finding what is out there for them on campus, whether it's opportunities, programming, or resources. The app is well used during O Week, but after O Week, you don't see it at all. You don't see the USC using it at all. In consulting with a lot of students, what I found is that it's hard for them to navigate in finding resources to support them, whether, in-person physical resources such as the health and dental clinic, or whether it's things such as, programming that's out there for them. The idea with this app is that I want to put a universal calendar up so that clubs, councils, and student groups on campus can upload their events to this calendar, and students can see what is happening on campus beyond what the USC is offering. In addition, I want to put a list of all of the USC services on the app. This way, students are aware of, what are the USC services that are available to them and where are they located on campus. In terms of location, what I want to do is put a campus map. And on the campus map, what it would focus on is, which buildings have prayer rooms in them, which bathrooms have period products in them, where is the health clinic on campus. The idea is that this is supporting students to see, where are these resources to support them. What I've learned from a lot of my consultations is that students, it's not that there aren't necessarily enough resources for students, it's just that students don't know where to find them. And so the idea with this app is that we're going to make it easier for students to tap into the resources available to them, but we're also going to make it so that clubs and councils across campus can utilize the USC's outreach to promote their events so that students can more easily find a place for them on this campus.
Yeah. And another thing you were talking about was having more resources for like off-campus housing information, resources for navigating tenancy laws, things like that. Mm-hmm. We have some of those resources on campus already. So how would your ideas differ from that? And how would you expand those resources?
Yeah, so the big initiative that I know you're referring to is my off-campus housing information campaign. So the idea with this initiative is that this is a way to collaborate with off-campus housing at Western so that students are aware of the resources available to them. A lot of what I've learned, and kind of what I was mentioning earlier, is that it's not necessarily that the resource doesn't exist, but that students don't know about this resource. And so that's why by doing an information-based campaign for students, they're able to see, hey, how can I be supported, or what exists for me out there to help me in navigating my off-campus housing.
Yeah. Going back to music, other candidates have suggested or even promised dance spaces like the Mustang Lounge to dance groups. You mentioned during the debate that they'd be available at a low and accessible cost. Other candidates have mentioned that they would promise to them for free. What's your response to that?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things is that I would want to make it as feasible as possible for dancers. I think a lot of candidates can, write it off and say, oh, we're going to make it free for you. But we need to look at what's feasible and what's realistic. I've come into this role as a candidate trying to be as transparent as possible with voters. And so I think that, before I can easily just write off saying, hey, we're going to make it free for you, I want to know and I want to be able to say well-informed, what can I actually do for you? So the idea with this is that I was saying, okay, we'll make it, low cost and feasible because I want to be able to meet students in the middle to see what is it that the USC can actually do and how can that best support dancers. Mm-hmm. So in working with dancers, this is a big thing that I want to do. Obviously, the Mustang Lounge, the community room are spaces that the USC manages. So, if we can make it free, then great. I would love to. but I didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah. And so this is a broad question, but why is the Faculty of Music important to you? We are small. We're the smallest faculty. There's not a lot of votes to be found here. So why are we important to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason why music students are, and the faculty is really important to me, is because, you guys provide something unique to this campus. Your skills, your talents are something that deserve to be showcased. And I think that for me coming into this role, I want to make sure that regardless of how big or small the student group is on campus, that you are advocated for. I resonate with a lot of music students because as someone that I've played piano for, 15 years, it's been a skill of mine for a long time. I want to make sure that music students feel supported by campus. A lot of students, will talk about different programs and different studies, but I think one of the most important things is that realizing that, every single different type of field is unique in its own way. And, I took a music course this past semester and I absolutely loved it. I think one of the reasons why I really value the music faculty is because you guys have a strong sense of community. I think even though you are a smaller faculty, I think that's what makes you unique, is that you guys have a strong sense of community and that people feel that they belong in your faculty. I think that's something that is missed with a lot of the bigger faculties because, there's thousands of these students, so they don't feel as connected. But in talking to music students, the biggest thing I've learned is that, you guys all have relationships with each other. And I think that that's a really valuable thing to be able, to connect with, and also to make sure that you guys feel advocated for by the USC. A lot of past presidents for the USC have been from, faculties such as social science. And so I think year after year, a lot of students don't feel, especially music or smaller faculty students, don't feel as supported or recognized by the USC. And a lot of it comes down to this point of, it's always the same faculty that is consistently being represented by the USC. And so I think that in coming into this role, I want to make sure that music students feel represented and that they feel there's a sense of belonging for them on this campus and within the USC.
Yeah. And then this is the last question I have here. In your own words, what is the role of the USC president?
I think the role of the USC president is being someone that is an advocate for all. I think the USC president does a lot in terms of, whether it's working for developing new programming or coming up with new advocacy initiatives. But I think the biggest thing that makes me a distinct candidate is understanding that I want to be someone that is a collaborative leader. I come at this with, the posture of I want to learn from those around me. I want to make sure that students feel that their voices are heard. And so I think that, coming at this with an open mind is a really important thing to do. As what I understand for the role is that the USC president is supposed to be someone that is approachable and someone that students feel that they can connect with. This is something that I feel like we haven't really seen with past presidents, because you only really see them in like these bigger ticket programming events such as O Week, or you see them on these like big panels. But I think the USC president needs to be someone that is actually present on campus, that you see in your day to day, because otherwise that's what breaks the bridge that the student body would have with the USC president. So I think that, you're asking, what is the role of the USC president? I think the role of the USC president is being someone that can recognize that I only have one perspective of this campus, and that it's really important to make sure that I'm learning from those around me so that I can effectively advocate for everyone.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on and joining me.
Thank you, Michael.
If there's anything else you have to share with music students, please feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, so, I've come up with these initiatives working with a lot of music students for integrating music students into programming or the end of year arts festival. But I recognize that these are just a couple of the ideas for ways that you could be advocated for or represented. But I want you to know that that you can always reach out to me with your ideas. I value your opinion. I care what you have to say. And I want to make sure that you feel connected to the USC. So if there's anything that you think I could add or that I could continue to work for so that you feel connected with the USC, that you can please reach out to me and let me know. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And thank you so much for listening to me. And thank you for having me, Michael.
Thank you very much.